Hi everyone, my name is Paul King-Brown. I am a divorce coach dealing with people who suffer with trauma and devastation from infidelity. I am really happy today to introduce you to someone I've just met, and she's a wonderful lady, Julie Mann. Julie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Fantastic. So I've got some questions for you, and I really wanted my people to basically just to know you and get to know you and what really moves you. But before we start really, I really wanted to, the thing that got me initially was that you started off as an actor. You're an actor. And I wanted to know the journey and what was your motivation to be an actor?
I've actually been an actor, Paul, for over 40 years, which is sometimes I can't quite believe that. Yes. But it started when I was younger in it, and I just happened to have a kind of a knack for being able to listen and you know, take off accents and things like that. But what happened when I was smaller was that actually probably when I was about 4 or 5, I actually had warts. Now, I didn't just have just a couple of warts, you know, like most kids do. My hands were literally covered. And of course, at that age, no one, quite understandably looking back, wanted to hold hands with me in the playground. Now, when you're 5, and no one wants to do that, that's a really big deal. So I made it mean 3 things. I made it mean that I wasn't like anyone else, I'd never fit in, and no one liked me. And really, from that moment, I didn't realize it consciously, but unconsciously, I decided that I would always be separate. And, you know, there was something wrong with me. And basically, as I grew up, you know, a number of things happened in different situations, which confirmed my belief, which is what we look for when we have a belief, that actually I was no good. There was something wrong and I'd never really be all right. There was, you know, and what happened was when I realized that I liked acting, and partly that was because I could escape from this, you know, being myself, which was not good enough. I was able to feel comfortable in that environment.
Yes.
But it was really, although I had a talent for it, it was really, I enjoyed it more because I could be someone else, because someone else, of course, was much more interesting than me. And of course, you can hide behind someone else's very interesting words.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you were, I was thinking this as I was approaching this interview, I was thinking, if you wanted someone to play you, who would you want to play you? Who do you see yourself?
Gosh, I've never been asked that. Wow. It would be bits of different actors, I think.
Yeah,
who? Specific type. So it would be a bit of, although you might not see it today, it would be a bit of Julie Walters.
I had Julie Walters.
Did you?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay, Julie Walters. Also, I don't know, there are aspects of me in lots of people. So
yes. I saw when I was thinking of the question, I was thinking of Julie Walters in Educating Rita. I saw you.
Oh my goodness, that is just such a great role. Yes. That is, thank you. Yeah, I take that as yeah, big tick.
Brilliant. One of the things that I mean, we've only just got to know each other, but one of the things that I really liked was very obvious about you is that you've got this incredible zest for life, but you were divorced. So I'm interested, especially my audience would be interested in how you stayed this positive. What was your divorce journey like? It's always very painful.
Yeah, I was married to my husband for about 15 years. And I was working as an actor. I was a mum by then. Also I had trained to be a hypnotherapist initially. And that came out of me having panic attacks and me visiting a hypnotherapist and then thinking, oh my goodness, this is amazing. What if I could do that? Then I discovered life coaching and EFT. And of course, that is about looking for what is possible. It's not about looking at the past. It's about looking at what you can do. Looking for a win-win.
Yes.
Looking at the positive, reframing stuff. So I already had, training in looking for other things. But like you say, divorce is incredibly painful, even for those people whose decision it is to be divorced, because I think partly that is the kind of the grief of losing the dream of the forever
Absolutely.
story. And also, of course, when you split up, if you've got children, you know, it's all that, and it is a painful thing. So I think even though obviously it was painful, firstly, I had to create a whole new life for myself. Yes, I wanted to carry on acting. Yes, I wanted to carry on seeing clients, but without a pension and without a husband who was contributing far more to the household than I was, I needed another source of income. So I think when I split up with my husband, I had to find ways of being resourceful. And actually, I buried a lot of the grief. And the grief wasn't just around the relationship, but also the fact that my daughter, so we split up when she was nearly 13, but when my daughter was 15, and she wanted to do whatever she wanted to do, and her dad was more in line with what she wanted than I was, she decided to go and live with her dad. And for me, that was a huge traumatic thing that happened. But even then, because I realized, obviously I was upset about it, but I was so busy firefighting and trying to make my life work that I didn't get present to the grief. And what actually happened was I unconsciously made it mean that I'd failed as a mother totally. And that actually I didn't deserve success. So even though that wasn't a conscious thought, that was buried underneath. I was a big failure. And so anything I tried to do, I was doing all the right things, but I wasn't getting the success that I was wanting, because actually deep down, I didn't think I deserved it. I was having car accidents. I was hurting myself, I was falling over. I was, things were breaking around me. It was happening everywhere. So I think that I didn't really, in answer to your question, I wasn't really present to the grief at the time. And it was something that's kind of seeped out, because it seeps out over time. But also I was trained to look for the positive. So, okay, what now? And I think that's a great way to look at things. And it's really important to heal that other stuff.
I've got to say, because it's the first time we've spoken about this, that the fact that you allowed your daughter to live with your father must have been painful, but I think it was an incredibly brave thing to do, to put your daughter first.
Well, actually, I didn't allow her. She could choose at that point. She could choose. So she chose. She chose. And even though I was very upset about that choice, I actually had to, I always wanted her to come back. And we have a great relationship now, by the way, but I used to leave her door open physically and metaphorically so she could come back. And I would go in morning and night and talk to her as if she was there, and just imagine the relationship that I wanted us to have. And actually, over the years, that is the relationship we have.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how, obviously these things are roller coasters. So how would you say you were able to not be bitter and stay uplifting? Because you have clients, you've got other things you need to do, you have to remain positive to them, and at the same time you're going through this experience. How did you maintain that sort of equilibrium? I
realized that wasn't going to make me happy, feeling like that. And actually, regardless of whether I thought it was, life, my dad used to say to me when I was younger, life isn't fair. And I used to get so upset about that, but actually life isn't fair. And we all have our own, view of what's right. And in my husband's eyes, what he did wasn't right in my eyes, but, in his eyes, what I did wasn't right. So, it's like neither of us were right. What happened. So I realized that I had to look for what I could do. And I had to find ways to be okay myself, to be more peaceful, to be calmer, to be happy, to be whatever. I had to look for what I could do, because the alternatives were just too painful. And it's not like I didn't experience pain, because I did. But I think it's really important to focus on what you can do, because what I know is that what you focus on expands.
Yes. That's true.
So if you focus on debt, what do you get? You just get more debt.
Yes.
You know, you focus on feeling scared, you just feel more scared.
I just wish that, as you're talking, I wish that I'd met someone like you before, because in my own experience, I remember I just allowed the fog and the darkness to just be my life. I couldn't see out of it, but I didn't know how to peek out. I didn't know where to look or where to go. You talk about the idea of being now. Now was the pain, and I never saw a way out of it initially. So anytime I meet anybody saying the words that you're saying, I'm like, wow, this could have saved me 10 years. You know.
I think the thing is, though, that we only do what we do with the resources that we've got, and those resources, easy for me to say, weren't available to me maybe weren't available to you at that time, like you say.
No, absolutely.
And maybe I had different resources. I was already part of a tribe of people, so I had collected, in a way, a tribe of people that thought in a similar way to me. So they weren't going to listen to the doom. They were going to acknowledge it and listen to me, but they weren't going to go, oh yes, it's terrible. Whereas there were other people who would say, oh, he's a bastard, he's this, he's that. What use is that? What use is that? It's not. And actually, although sometimes that feels good, that feels, we get something out of that, it doesn't further anything. It just keeps us more stuck in what we're in.
I also think that, and I'm not very good at gender wars, but I do think that from my experience as a man, I experienced it very differently. So I was so maybe egotistical. I didn't want to admit my failings or my failure or my loss. So I spent a lot of times almost pretending that it didn't exist, until, in terms of sharing it, in terms of, I knew it existed in me, but I sort of faked this life outside of me because I was so ashamed of it. So I'm really, I'm glad that we live in this age where there is more resources, more help, and just more honesty about vulnerability, I guess, from that standpoint. One of the things, though, Julie, which I've thought about, and then what you're into, is that from this experience, or you're really into this wellness space, and you're really about healthy and well-being in very different ways. I'm not going to pretend to I know everything, but tell me about your focus. What is your focus in this space? What do you do in it now?
Well, so what happened, I mentioned to you earlier that when my husband asked for a divorce, being an actor and being a life coach and EFT practitioner, which incidentally is the tapping technique, on its own, without a pension, approaching 60, I was approaching 60, I'm now 63, was not going to be enough. It was not going to give me enough right now money, but also enough to create a future for myself, because there isn't anyone who's going to rescue me. And I think when I was younger, before I got married, I thought maybe there was someone who's going to rescue me. And maybe I thought that was my husband. Clearly that didn't turn out. So I knew I needed something, and I didn't know what, but I knew I needed something that's going to be flexible, because if I tried to get an ordinary job that paid by the hour, I couldn't earn enough to equate to a pension. And if I wanted something that would give me that pension type money, then I'd have to retrain probably, but also I wouldn't be able to do my acting, which comes up when it comes up, and I have to be flexible for that. So it needed to be something that was going to allow me to work anytime, anywhere, and create, more than right now money. And I had no idea what that could be, but I knew there must be something. And then my friend introduced me to a company called Arbonne. I'd never heard of them. Online, nearly 42 years old, in the network marketing industry, never heard of it, didn't know what she was talking about. So I thought, well, if I hadn't heard of it, it must be rubbish. Anyway, because I was rather desperate, really, because I needed something, and also it had to, fit the criteria I was looking for, I was sensible enough to take some time to listen to what she had to say. And when she explained that I could carry on doing what I was doing and just add this in, it blew me away, because I realized the potential of the business model. And it was really at that time, even though I knew the basics to health. I think most people do. We know that we need to exercise enough and, eat things that are nutritious. I didn't really know a lot of the specifics about some of the things that I know now, in terms of it's not just about what you put in your body, it's also about what you put on your body. It's also about your thoughts, the environment you keep, the people that you hang around with. It's all of those things. And I think I just learned these things. Well, I just learned these things starting this new online business. I had my friend to hold my hand, which was amazing, because I never saw myself as a business person. But over time, I learned some basic things which I had no idea about before, that have really added enormous value to my life. And now I show other people how they can create an income alongside, their family, maybe traveling, whatever else they're doing, so that they can have some choice, because I think that's what we're looking for, really.
Yes.
Choice. But we are looking for good health, aren't we? We are looking for good mental health and good physical health. We want to live a zestful life.
Absolutely. So are the people you work with driven from the story of extra income financially, or are they driven from just the wellness and healthy, just to be wellness and healthy, and then joining in the entrepreneurial journey?
I think it's a mixture, but I think most people in the world probably would like a bit of extra money, and a lot of people would love more time. And with the business model of network marketing, we create time leverage. So it actually means that you get paid when you're not working, which means we can free ourselves up to do more of the things that we want to do with the people that we want to do it with. So it's a mixture of people. For me, I had to create that pension.
Yes.
And for other people, they want some sort of purpose. They want to be, they want to make a difference on the planet. I think we all really do want to give back.
Yeah.
We like, I think, as human beings, making some sort of difference.
Yeah. I discovered, I think you're so true in that making a difference. I was around Notting Hill when Grenfell happened, and in a world where everybody would say London is a cold place, lonely place, I just saw incredible giving, incredible kindness. It's just when people just needed almost a place to go, they needed, okay, there. And then once they had a focus, then they really poured in. So I think you're absolutely right in that regard.
Yeah, and I think it can be very selfish and lonely when we're all about ourselves. And that can happen when we're going through dark times.
Absolutely.
Rather than reaching out, but surrounding ourselves with people who can have our back and lift us out of that, rather than go knock us back down in again. I think it's really important.
So I've got two questions. One of them is my question, and one of them is I've got to tell my people that I've stolen the question from you. But the first question is what is amazing about, in your experience, what is so amazing about working with you and working around this? What would be, why would anybody want to do this?
Why would anybody want to do the business model or work with me?
Well, no, with you.
With me.
With you. I know why when I see the name Julie Mann, I personally think, well, it's going to be uplifting, it's going to be inspirational, she's going to be smiling. She's also, the other thing that people might not know about you is that you actually tell it as it is, so which is good. If you're too sensitive, tough, but you tell it as it is, but actually you tell it in love, and I love that about you. So, maybe I've asked my own question.
Thank you, Paul, for saying that. And I have to say, I feel exactly the same way. But then your people know all about who you are. So I think that what you've just said is how I would like to be seen. I love to have fun. For me, it's really important to be playful, and I've spent my life being paid to be someone else. And I am 63 now, and it's taken me a long time to realize the importance of just being ourselves. When I interviewed you on my channel is Real People, Real Transformational Stories. I think it's so important to be real. I want to be real with people that work with me. I want to be straight, because the industry that I'm in, it's not always easy. It's a very simple and very clever business model, but actually people get taken out of the game because of what goes on between their ears. So I'm very clear with people that it does involve getting out of your comfort zone. But let's face it, a life in your comfort zone is just a little bit dull.
It's a bit boring. Every time I hear people say, you know, get you out of your comfort zone, initially I think like, no, but then when I'm out of it, I'm actually exhilarated, and I'm like, you know, you're trying to achieve, and then afterwards you say thank you for doing something that I didn't want to do. I mean, my wife at the moment is a very, very busy lady, but she's been cooking recently. And she's cooking so well, she's got me eating things I'd never eat. You know, she's got me eating butter beans. I hate butter beans, but somehow curried butter beans is amazing. Ooh, you know, it's amazing when, you know, out of your comfort zone can be as fun as in your comfort zone, for want of a better phrase. So the question that you asked me, that when you asked me, I was like, that's a difficult question, but it was a wonderful question, was, what do you really want people to know about you?
Oh,
See, it got you as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't mind being got. I want people to know that the importance of being themselves, and that I believe that my purpose on this planet is to help people really step into themselves, to be unapologetically themselves. If I could be known for to be someone who has helped someone be themselves, that would be a huge, huge gift. I think that it's so, so important, and that I was a kind, loving person, and that I was fun.
Well, you are. And Julie Mann, thank you so much for talking to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.